Hot Mic is brought to you by Red Wing Shoes of Fargo. Built to last. 3003 Main Avenue, Fargo.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Wednesday morning. We start our show with some drama on the south side of Chicago last night. The Twins played an absolute barn burner with the Chicago White Sox in a game that had a little bit of everything. I believe it's coming. Here we go. Well, we'll pick it up bottom of the ninth. Twins and White Sox are tied at 2. Luke Keeschall makes a great play over the shoulder for keep this game tied and force extra innings. Twins played some great defense last night. Now, top of the 10th, it's 2-all. Twins are going to try and press the issue here with a runner on at second. And I don't know what they're doing there. Great throw from the outfield. Murakami was fantastic. Another home run last night off Joe Ryan. So we stay tied at 2. Now Murakami at the plate as it would happen on the bottom of the 10th against Taylor Rogers. How about Josh Bell makes a fabulous play and then tags the runner to end the inning. Now, initially, it looked like it was a line drive catch by Bell. If you watch the replay, it actually short hops right there. Bell then tags the runner because he stepped on the bag for the out, then tags him for the force, and hence the inning. So we go to the 11th. Bases are loaded. Brooks Lee is up at the plate and delivers down the right field line into the corner, and that will clear the bases. Kreidler would score. Keeschall would score. Buxton scores, and the Twins take a 5-2 lead. White Sox scratch one out in the bottom of the 11th. Then this play to end in a ground ball, and the Minnesota Twins got a great effort from Joe Ryan, not pictured, who struck out 9 over 7 2/3, but Minnesota gets the second game of this 4-game set with a 5-3 win at Comiskey Park last night with some nifty bullpen work as well. After that, Bonda, Morris, Rogers, and Gomez combined only allowed the 1 run and allowed 3 hits over the final 3 1/3 innings of the game last night as the Twins get to a game under 500. Not sure I would have thought that on the 27th day of May. They'll play Game 3 of their set tonight, another night game before they have a getaway day game. Connor Prelip goes for Minnesota, and David Sandlin goes for the White Sox. And with that, we say good morning, everybody, and welcome to Hot Mic here on a Wednesday, the final Wednesday of the month. I am Dom Izzo, host of said show. Glad you're joining us here. We got a lot to get to today on a busy Wednesday. Yesterday, we found out at least one of the teams to play in the NBA Finals. Last night, we found out now one of the teams to play in the Stanley Cup Final. We're going to show you that here in just a little bit. Also, later in the show today, if you think we spent enough time on the college football TV release, we haven't yet, because today is officially the day. I have got actually 2 emails already today to clarify again what we talked about yesterday, so I'll try and do that. Officially, it's supposed to be released this afternoon at about 2 o'clock Central Time. When I say it, that means the whole kit caboodle here for all the FBS leagues, from the SEC to the Mountain West to the ACC to the Sun Belt. They'll have one big smorgasbord here. Why they do this is also really interesting. I've never ever spent time on it because it never concerned us. But after spending the better part of the last week kind of researching this, it's really interesting. So at least for me, I'm not sure for you, the viewer or listener. We'll try to explain later on in the show on that. If there's anything that leaks, between now and 10:57:50, we will certainly pass it along before we say goodbye here today. Now, to the other games that happened last night. We had Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals in the NBA last night. The Spurs and the Thunder playing. Of course, the Knicks are already there waiting. A week from tonight is Game 1 of the NBA Finals. They would want to see San Antonio and OKC go the distance, which we thought maybe on the outset that would happen. The Thunder blew out the Spurs on Sunday night in Game 4. So the series now goes back to San Antonio for Game 5 last night. You had to feel the Thunder were going to play better than they did on Sunday. The answer was they did in front of their packed crowd at OKC for the reigning champs, where it's getting testy between these two teams. Keldon Johnson, the alley-oop to Wemby, gives San Antonio an early lead. The MVP was much better last night. SGA gets around Wembanyama, who falls. As they say, put him on skates. OKC is up 3. Later in the second, Thunder up 56-49. Chet Holmgren showed up in this series by Luke Cornett and scores. They're up 9. Later in the half, now up 11. SGA, that's his spot. The pull-up there. Thunder, 69-58 halftime lead. The Thunder had 38 points in Game 4 at halftime. Move to the third. SGA drains a 3. Wemby says, come on over. Gives an impassioned talk to his team on the bench. It didn't seem to faze OKC. SGA in the corner knocks another one. They're up 20 for the first time in this series. The Thunder are boat racing, but here come the Spurs. They got it down to 10. Look at Cornett here try to tap this in. It's rejected that's goaltending. The refs did call it a block for some reason. There, the Spurs turn it over as Wemby loses it. They review it. Mitch Johnson tries to challenge it. The refs don't accept it. He'd later get a technical foul. Again, it seemed like nothing was going San Antonio's way last night. Now in the fourth, Jared McCain in the corner hits a 3. Put OKC up 13. There's another 3 here from McCain, who had a playoff high for him last night at 20 in his first playoff start. Thunder would go up by 15. Again, that's San Antonio seemed to be in that 12-point range. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander goes by Wembanyama. He had 32. They are a win away from going back to the NBA Finals. They win it 127-114. So now they lead the series 3-2 with Game 6 tomorrow night in San Antonio. The Spurs have to win to force a Game 7, which would be on Saturday. The Knicks just waiting, as I mentioned, a week from tonight for the NBA Finals to begin. Meanwhile, in Las Vegas last night, we had Game 4 of the West Finals between Colorado and the Golden Knights. Remember, Colorado was the number 1 team in the NHL. Won the President's Trophy, the best team. They beat the Minnesota Wild in 5. They swept their first-round opponent in 4. They had to win last night, and the worst start happened. Mark Stone gets in, an original Golden Knight, gloves it down, comes in and beats Mackenzie Blackwood as the Avalanche traded goalies again. Vegas going nuts. It's 1-0. Flavor Flav loved it in the crowd last night. Still a 1-0 game in the second. Mitch Marner with a nifty dish there. Dorofeyev is denied. That's a hell of a save. Let's just call it like it is. That's fantastic by Blackwood. It's still 1-0. Former UND standout Cole Smith tips it home. That makes it 2-0 Golden Knights. This is a work of art here, folks. Just got the end of the blade. It's a 2-0 Vegas lead. Colorado has pulled its goaltender. They're not done, though. They get a tip of their own. Gabriel Landeskog scores with just over 2 minutes to go. That's how you do it. Avalanche aren't done for the best team in the league. It's 2-1. Again, they have pulled their goaltender, but after that, they had no shots on the Vegas net. And the best team in the NHL is swept out of the Western Conference Finals. Vegas won 39 games during the regular season. They fired their coach with 8 games to go in the year. and they are going to the Stanley Cup Final for the third time in 9 years as a franchise, winning 2-1 last night. So they await the winner of Carolina and Montreal. They'll play Game 4 of that series tonight in Montreal, with the Canadiens trailing in that series 2-1. Carolina won in both last 2 games at overtime, so the Hurricanes will try to go up 3-1 in that series coming up tonight. Just a quick word on Vegas. My dad and I have talked about this several times. My dad was out in Vegas the first year of the Golden Knights' existence, 2017-18. He was out there, and he saw with his own eyes the rabidness of what the fandom is for their hockey team. And it's not like with the Raiders, because the Raiders aren't theirs. And it's not going to be whenever the Athletics, if the Athletics ever move to Vegas, it's not going to be that either, because they're coming from another locale. It will be for the NBA team when that comes at the end of the decade, when the NBA decides to plant its flag in Vegas. But it is different with the hockey team. That is their own. The NHL gave them that franchise, and they have run with it. It is rabid out there. If you remember a couple years ago when they won the Stanley Cup in 2023, and the party they had on the Strip was unbelievable. Only a place like Las Vegas could do that. The amount of success they've had is what. I mean, we're talking franchises that have been around. I made a cheap shot at the Wild yesterday, but the Wild have been around now for 26 years. They haven't even been to the final. Vegas has been around for 9. This is their 3rd trip. It's unbelievable. That is, and again, this year might be even more special considering they fired their coach with 8 games. Only hockey would do this. They fired Bruce Cassidy with 8 games remaining in the year. They hired John Tortorella, who was working for ESPN at the time, comes off the couch basically, and now is this team 4 wins away from a 2nd Stanley Cup in 4 years' time. It's amazing. We'll see. Of course, it's going to be a little bit. Now, here's the interesting part of this, and I'm hopeful hockey has learned. Now, the NBA has had its final schedule set since, they announced this last October and last September, because they moved the start of the finals from a Thursday to a Wednesday in the NBA. So now here's hockey's opportunity. Whenever the East Finals are done, and it's going to go at least 5, so Game 4 is tonight, which is Wednesday. Game 5 will be Friday. You want to have a little bit of lead time here. So you could go Monday if you're the NHL, depending how far the East Finals go. Like if they extend this, if Carolina falls tonight to Montreal, then we know we're going to have at least 6 games. Then the series is not going to be done until Sunday. So if you're the NHL, you start either Tuesday next week or Thursday. That you clear out, and then because ABC is going to have some say in this because they have the Stanley Cup Final this year, and every single night there's going to be a game. That's what you want. You have NBA one night, NHL the next, and that's how you have your championship series in both. I don't know if it's Vegas and Carolina playing for the Stanley Cup Final. Let's go. How many years in a row we had a Florida team in it? This is the first time that streak is going to be end since, I think, 2019, I want to say, that we haven't had a Florida team play in the Stanley Cup Final. So having the warm weather, that's for the people that don't pay attention to the sport. Because we've had warm weather teams playing in it nonstop for the last 7 years. So it would only be fitting if we have 2 franchises that weren't around 20 years ago, or at least 24 years ago. Carolina played and won the Stanley Cup 20 years ago this year. Our guy Matt Cullen was part of that team in 2006. So what a party out there. Having been out there a couple years ago, again, there's Golden Knights stuff everywhere. There's not much Raiders stuff. I'll just say it. And it's only going to get crazier now with another trip to the Stanley Cup Final. So we'll see who they got coming up here in the next few days. We have a packed show coming up for you here today on this Wednesday morning. Our guest lineup is brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. Our guy Drew Trafton going to join us in just a few minutes. I believe he's coming in hot here today. Yesterday, the United States announced its World Cup roster. Breaking news, the World Cup begins in like 2.5 weeks in the United States. It seems like this is the least talked about World Cup I can remember. And it's here. we'll visit with Drew about that coming up in just a few minutes. I got a couple other things I want to hit with him about soccer at 9:20. 9:35, Quinn Irey will join us, head coach of the Horace baseball team. The Hawks heading off to Minot today. The Class A tournament starts tomorrow. You'll see it live on WDAY2. Horace has got all the horses to potentially win this thing. You got to think they're one of the favorites. West Fargo, of course, won the EDC championship. They beat Horace on Saturday down at Jack Williams Stadium. We'll visit with Quinn about his team's chances coming up at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, really excited to welcome Northern Cass alum, now South Dakota State freshman pitcher Trey Husar back to our show. Visited with Trey yesterday. The Jackrabbits, of course, we showed you, won the Summit League championship over the weekend as they beat Oral Roberts. They're heading to Lincoln today to open up the NCAA Regional against Nebraska on Friday afternoon. Trey pitched against the Huskers back in March, so we'll get his thoughts about a repeat trip to Haymarket Park in Lincoln and a matchup with the Big Ten and the NCAA baseball tournament. This time last year, we were visiting with Trey at the North Dakota State track meet after his Northern Cass baseball team played and made it to the state tournament. Quite a 365-day turn for him. So that's coming up at 10 o'clock. And as I mentioned, much more on the TV debacle that surrounds the Bison and college football that will be announced later today. So we'll do that before we say goodbye here. So a lot to get to on this Wednesday. We'll take our first break. Hot mic off and rolling. We're back after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KMBN, and Inforum.com.
The biggest Seahawks, Sounders, and Mariners fan in the FM area. It's time for Views with Drew.
Drew Trafton, good to see you, my man. I missed you last week. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. How are you?
I have two things I want to start with. Have you gone to see The Mandalorian and Grogu yet?
No, I saw you did.
I
though.
did.
Did you
Jackman and I went. He did.
He did, yeah.
Off the charts. Anytime the little green guy was on, Jackman was
attentive, ready to go.
Which is Disney's whole strategy here.
He's their most marketable character.
Totally.
Right now, and all of their IP. All of their IP.
Actually, as I counted in our house how many we have of this, and I have zero. Between Jackman has all of it. It's like 10 of them, which is right up Disney's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I would say, because we together saw the last Star Wars movie in person. That was 7 years ago. It was before my son was
bizarre.
4 months old.
Yeah.
The last time
there
was a Star Wars movie. And the fact that you haven't seen it yet is also an indictment of where the series is right now.
Right. Yeah. Like,
You know what I mean? That's not on you. That's on them.
I watched that series.
Yeah.
I watched The Mandalorian.
Right.
So like it's not something that I've been just like like avoiding or not a fan of. Like I like the TV series. It's just like I'll see it.
It's right, and that's how I came out. It's entertaining. I don't know if it could have been another season of the show. You know what I mean? The movie, right? I can see. Right. I think they spent a good amount of money on what could have been just the season 4 of the TV show.
I mean, like you said, it's been 7 years since they had a Star Wars movie, and for Disney to buy that property for what they bought it for,
and then
which is
shelve
$5
it
billion,
right?
Like you need to put out more movies than once every 7 years.
And that's the thing. They went towards the streaming part of it, and it's been, I'd say, moderately successful. I don't want to get too far down the road
mixed
on this.
Bag.
Right.
Yeah.
Some have been really good. Andor was awesome. Some of them were not very good.
Andor is such a good series that if you don't even like Star Wars or know nothing about Star Wars,
okay with
you can
that.
watch it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the same thing. That's my last point on this. Like, you don't really need to have watched the TV show to enjoy the movie, but also, and in this day and age where everything, especially in the nerd stuff we like, that is interconnected, this isn't. Like, there's I'm not spoiling anything for you. There's nothing on to the next thing. It is not.
And
it
you
just
have
ends.
to give those like diehard fans some of those Easter eggs.
Well, especially the Marvel people are craving that, but this is none of that. It's just happens and then So you go see it at your leisure. If you stream it, that's fine too. But I was curious if you had seen it yet. But it's fine. It was cool. The neat part for me was to go to a Star Wars movie with my son.
Oh yeah,
that was really cool. I enjoyed that. He had a blast. So he wore his Grogu ears. He was all good to go. So I have a beef with your favorite sport.
Yeah,
and it's over the Amazon documentary that followed the U.S. men's national team. Right. We talked about the Gio Reyna, Greg Burkhalter mess years ago when he almost got sent home from the last World Cup.
Yes.
Reyna.
Yeah.
And then Burkhalter got fired.
Yep.
And then they rehired him. Amazon didn't even do anything with it because they thought it was too, I don't know, controversial. Like what? It's a documentary of the team.
Yeah.
How are you not talking about the biggest story?
The biggest thing to happen. I don't know.
What?
I've always been flummoxed by the power that U.S. soccer exercises over every facet of that sport.
And that's not but that's not alone because every the Last Dance, Michael Jordan's thing, he had all creative control over that. That wasn't like an unauthorized documentary. We're not going to get We're not going to get those
and
anymore.
we always invoke the name of the league that does it best, which is the NFL.
Yeah.
And you look at Hard Knocks.
Yep.
And that's from reports that are out there, like that's largely unfiltered stuff. Like the NFL has some control over it. The team has some say over what's those crews get to see and what gets out there. But I mean, for the most part, like there are guardrails on that in terms of that creative, the ability for those show creators to have some space with the story.
So if you're going to watch that, you're not going to get any inside intel on what went down. Do we really know what went down? Outside of Reyna's dad had some
and just
here?
that Gio's probably was a little too young. It sounded like, and
he didn't
really
play,
immature.
right? Refresh my memory. He did not play, or did he?
No, I don't think he did play in that last World Cup. And I mean, honestly, one of the biggest shockers from this last weekend for a lot of people, not shockers, but there were questions whether he was going to be on the roster for this World Cup. And he's been playing somewhat well for his club, but he hasn't been playing a lot.
Yeah, right.
He's only played like 570 minutes this year, and that's not a lot.
And also, I was reading yesterday, The Athletic did a story on Christian Pulisic, who's also not been very good.
He's on a crazy bad drought.
So that's great.
For
Our two best guys aren't playing very well right now.
He's not starting for AC Milan right now.
That's not good.
No. No.
I watched a video clip because Taylor Twellman is my favorite. I hate the fact he's not on ESPN anymore because he's buried on Apple TV doing the MLS, and I was not going to buy the MLS subscription.
I did not.
But his reaction to the roster announcement yesterday was similar to when we missed the World Cup in 2018.
Yeah.
In terms of what did we do here? We have like 18 defensemen that we picked on this team?
Yeah. So, it all kind of starts with, in every conversation that we've had leading up to this. I remember last time we talked about this was in March because they came out and played 2 friendlies.
Yep.
They looked awful.
Yep.
Like they just looked lost out there. And part of that goes back to, so what you were talking about, Berhalter gets fired. They hire Pochettino, and he has like a 2-year run-up or 18-month run-up to figure out this roster. But last year, as late as last year, he had 70 guys that he would plug into these little mini camps, or they'd play 2 games at a time to figure out who he wants on this roster. And so then we get to, as of last Thursday, there were still 55 guys in contention to fill 26 roster spots. And then we get this roster and we're going, okay, well, what does this mean, right? So every time we talked about it leading up to this, when we've talked about, well, what does this, is the team going to be good? We really didn't know because we were like, who knows? We don't know who's going to be playing, what style they're going to be playing. All these tactical decisions are kind of up in the air. And then we get this roster and there are 10 defenders on this roster, guys who play defense. 7 of them play center back, which is like if you built an NFL roster and you were building like your defensive backs, and you were carrying like 8 cornerbacks and like 5 safeties. Like that's what that would look like, where it's like, what are we doing? Because you can't sub in soccer for the casual fans.
You only get 3.
You get 3 guys.
Correct. It's not like you get unlimited
through
subs
a match.
here.
So it's like 90 minutes,
and you can't come back in. Like when you're out, you're done.
You're out. You're out. So so it's like, okay, well, what does this mean, right? Does this mean that they're going to play? So what that tells like a soccer like Rube is they're going to play with 3 center backs, which on the field at once, which is okay. Like that, we kind of knew that was probably going to be the case, especially after March when they looked awful.
Right,
like their mid, their defensive mid, was really really bad.
Yep.
But the curious part of this is that leaves your they have a very thin defensive midfield situation. And that's tough because you're putting a lot of weight on Tyler Adams, who's going to be your starter. Great.
He's a good player.
He's very good.
Yep.
He was the captain for the last World Cup team. Very, very good player, but he is very injury prone. And then
not great.
No, and also with the World Cup, when you play in a tournament, if you accrue 2 yellow cards,
and you got to sit.
You have to sit a match, and you're playing 3 group games here, and as a defender, like there are times when the tactic is to take a yellow card. Like if you're trying to stop a player from scoring an obvious goal, or like it's not just like. It might, like a fluke thing might happen. It's like you might be in a position where you have to take the yellow card. And so we could be in a situation where we're extraordinarily thin at that position.
It sounds to me on the outside of this that we're going to play, the United States is going to play just on our heels and have as many guys back to prevent anybody from scoring. Is that accurate with how this team is constructed?
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense because of who's in our group a little bit, because Paraguay and Australia are probably going to play through the air a lot, like try to go over us. So we're not going to get beat that way is the idea, which is smart. But yeah, we could be in a position, I totally see it, where we're in a position where like we're pushing to score with like 20, 30 minutes left. And like it
seems like every World Cup is like this for the United States,
for sure. And
every
it's
single
like,
one,
0-0, and we're really like we're just like
and we
really
need a goal,
and, like the goals, But we have some guys who could score. Like we have some very talented guys up front who can get those goals. Balogun is going to be like, I think could be the breakout star of the tournament for the U.S. Like a guy who becomes a household name.
My whole thing on this, and we've talked about it because they didn't have to qualify because they're hosting, that they cannot embarrass. They have to advance.
Yeah. Oh, for
and
sure
they got to win, I think, a knockout stage game.
That, looking at how this could play out now, like in knowing who's on the roster, if we finish first or second in the group, I think it's very attainable that they win their round of 32 game. Just looking at the teams that could be there.
Because remember, it's expanded. For people that don't know, it's now to 48 instead of 32.
So you could finish third, but if you finish third, you're going to be up against a
powerhouse,
good,
right?
Like you're going to get knocked out.
You'll lose.
So like, and there's a path forward where it's like, hey, we just have to finish first or second. We could win a game in the knockout, and then at that point, like it just
you take your shot.
Yeah, you just play as well as you can.
We'll do more on this as we get closer to it, but my thought is now on May 27th, and we're 2 weeks away. I don't feel any buzz here.
Yeah, there's none.
Is it me or is it just don't feel it right now?
Like I don't think the world's eye is on this as much as you would think it would be.
Well, I think the world has a large beef with the United States. I think there's part of that
we're
too.
We're seeing that.
Yeah.
Politics, whatever they are, and wherever you fall on the map, like people are speaking with their wallets right now, and they're not coming to the United States,
which is not good. If you're Fox and you've invested whatever, I think it's $500 million or $500 billion, I think, to get this, and you're going to have empty stadiums around the United States, especially the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't good.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Seattle, one of the World Cup sites, and there are going to be games when I'm out there. And I don't think I'm going to be able to get into the U.S. game because that game's going to be the hardest one to get a ticket for.
But the other game?
Yeah, I might be able to get in. Like for a reasonable.
They might ask you, "Can you come?"
Yeah.
Can you get there?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm excited for it, but it's not. It hasn't got me. Like I thought I'd be all right. Here we go, and I'm not there because. The way the roster is, and I think part of the ugliness of how this has come about. I don't know. I hope I get there because I like it. The World Cup's a huge deal, man. I love it.
I have faith. Like if they make a run, like if they show up and it's like, oh, this team's like they're playing well. Like I could see there's going to be the potential there.
Yeah,
there'll be this space there. They're kind of in that vacuum in the sports schedule for U.S. fans where you'll have baseball
NBA and NHL
on.
will be wrapping up their finals. So
and so then it'll be like there will be space for the casual fan to jump on the bandwagon.
We'll chat about it as it gets closer. Thanks so much for coming by. I appreciate it as always.
Thanks for having me.
Drew Trafton giving us the lowdown. USA plays its opener June the 12th, 8 o'clock against Paraguay. That game is at SoFi Stadium, the home of the Chargers and the Rams. We'll break. We come back. Get you ready for the Class A baseball tournament. Gets going tomorrow in Minot. You'll see it live on WDAY2 Horace thinks they've got the horses to bring it home. Quinn Irey will join us when Hot Mike returns after this. Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mike off and rolling here on this Wednesday. Don't forget, the craziness of tournament season begins tomorrow. The Class A baseball tournament is in Minot back at Corbett Field. You can watch it all on WDAY2 tomorrow. The first quarterfinal goes at 11:30 in the morning between West Fargo and Bismarck, then games the rest of the day. The semis move to 4:30 on Friday with the championship, 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon right here on WDAY Extra. Our next guest is hoping his team will be playing in that championship round. West Fargo Horace opens tomorrow with Minot North in its first quarterfinal game. West Fargo is the number 1 seed. The Packers beat the Hawks on Saturday to win the EDC championship. They'll lead off tomorrow against Bismarck. Speaking of the Hawks, their head coach Quinn Irey joins us here before getting on the bus to make a lovely trip to Minot later today. It's great to see you. I know we talked, gosh, in September, I think when Kaysen committed to Oregon, about last year's state tournament. How in the fresh of your mind, is that something for the guys? Is it something for you, or is this done with after what happened last year?
I'd say coming into this spring, our guys have put a lot of, our inability to perform in the postseason kind of on the back burner, and something that they're not really focusing on. They know that we've been, bounced in the first round the last 2 years, and it's something that they want to make sure that we're playing our best baseball towards the end of the season. I think that we've been doing a good job of that so far. So no, it's not really something that they're holding on to necessarily, that they're thinking about their, inability to perform in some of those games. But, I think that we're going to be ready to go. So the kids are fired up and excited for playing up at Corbett. And yeah, it's going to be good weekend.
So you just got guys like me bringing it up all the time that's happened. But it's hard to. Baseball's like that. It just like it's muscle memory. Like, here we go again. It's state. Like, how do we find a way to win a game so we can get to the semifinals on Friday?
Yeah, and that's early in the season, when it's a foot of snow on the ground, you're looking for things to do with your team when you don't necessarily have the ideal time slot to go inside. We had what I would call a classroom practice where we kind of talk about different parts of the game on the mental side, and I learned a lot of that from my college coach Tom Hager on mental imagery and thinking about what's going on in your mind as the game is progressing. And I kind of put a challenge to them is like, what are some things that we're going to hang our hat on this year as a team with this much maturity, between 11 seniors and guys that have played in the program for 4 years at the varsity level. Like, what are some things that we're really going to hang our hat on? And one thing that they came up with is, finding ways to win close baseball games and still playing loose. I feel like whenever we got into a big moment, it started to, or gripping the bats a little bit tighter, gripping the baseball a little bit tighter when they're on the mound, kind of playing on their heels a little bit. What I would categorize that as playing afraid to make a mistake, or playing not to lose instead of playing to win. Like, playing confident and going to win a baseball game is a lot different than playing timid, playing not to lose, basically. So there, in my mind, is a difference. And some of our immaturity was kind of showing, those things where we're playing not to lose. And I feel like they've done a great job this year of playing their brand of baseball and going out and trying to win every baseball game.
Tell me about this past weekend, another matchup with West Fargo. How did you feel the team played at EDC this past weekend?
I really liked how we threw it on the mound. Kaden Rademacher gave us a great chance to stay in that baseball game. We found a way to claw back, just like we did against Cheyenne, where we gave up a 4 spot in that Cheyenne game, and same thing as West Fargo gave up 3 runs kind of early, and there wasn't a whole lot of panic with our group, right? They know what they can do offensively. Would have probably liked to see some more offensive production early in the game against West Fargo High. We kind of let a few at bats go there in the first, second, and third inning, but proud of the way that we played over the weekend. We know that there are some areas to address going into state, but the body of work that this team has put in and what we've been able to do offensively, they know what their abilities are. So we're ready to go.
I'm interested just knowing after how you played this past weekend and now taking the bus trip here to Minot, knowing expectations are high. I think on the outside, people think, well, look what Horace has. They better win this thing. How do you handle that knowing on the outside? I know you don't care about that, but on the outside, people think, well, Horace better win this thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a what we talk a lot of our guys about is controlling controllables. Yeah. We talk about controlling our attitude, our effort, and our intensity in every single situation that we can, and just making sure that we're bringing energy to when we're playing the game and not letting some of the outside noise dictate how we go about it. Right? If we have high expectations of ourselves, but we're not going to go into every game saying, "Oh, it's an automatic win," right? Or because we got a guy like Jack Collins and Brody Strom and Kason Borkhardt, right? It's they go out to they want to play for our program. They represent us really well, and I don't think that there's a whole lot of outside noise. They just have high expectations of themselves, but they don't listen a whole lot to people saying, "Oh, they Horace should go win this thing because of our front end talent." But they've done a good job of just controlling what they can all year. So
we were joking about this off air, but it's a real thing that the temperatures are going to be warm. You talk about dealing with snow like you're accustomed to doing to start the year. I don't know if we're accustomed to with 90-degree temperatures for a few days. How do you account for that coming up this weekend?
Biggest thing for us is trying to simulate, our practices Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to when we are playing. It wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. We're playing in the warmest part of the day at 4:30 on Thursday. Wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for us to practice at 9 a.m. in the coolest part of the day, right? So we're trying to simulate game time temperature, talking through just ways that the kids can stay hydrated. Just plain water alone is not going to cut it. Got to add some electrolytes, some sodium, potassium. So making sure that we have all those things available to our guys is the biggest thing, and making sure that hydration starts now. Can't be a reaction type thing. But it reminds me a lot of when I was an assistant at West Fargo Cheyenne. We went to the state tournament in Mandan, and I think it was 3 consecutive days the temperatures were over 100. Yes. And just a week prior in the EDC championship game, we had lost to Shanley that year. And it was probably like 55 degrees and rainy. We lost to Shanley in that game. And then we get to Mandan the next weekend, and kids are worried about heat stroke, and it's 110 real feel on the turf. And it's like, holy cow, what a change. It does remind me of that a little bit, but, just trying to make sure they're controlling, their nutrition, their hydration, getting plenty of sleep so that they are going to be feeling their best when they're hit with that warm temperature and playing on turf. This adds kind of to that fatigue and their overall heat index. So, kids handled it well so far. Monday, Tuesday, we'll practice again kind of at that 3:30, 4 o'clock time frame today and getting used to those airtime temps.
Does that work for broadcasters as well? Because I have to do this for the next 3 days. So is that the same kind of regimen I need for the next few days?
I think so. Yeah, I'll make sure to get you on our hydration plan.
Okay.
Get you some Element and liquid IVs, and make sure you eat lots of bananas. Yeah,
that's no problem. I can do that. I'm all set. Whatever we need, because we got our grind starting tomorrow. You caught. I have to imagine, what was the hottest day you caught? Like, what are you putting all that gear on? Like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. Do you ever have a game like that?
Yeah, I'd say there's a few times that I can think just catching well above 100. Playing down in Cleburne when I was with the Red Hawks, some of those game time temps playing down there in August was just ridiculous, right? And that field was turf as well, so it did help that you're playing later in the day. They'd have those games scheduled like 7:30. But the absolute hottest day I remember is when we went to the Babe Ruth World Series with the year before I played for the Governors. We were playing down in LaGrange, Texas, and this was towards the end of August, and the air temp was 110. The feel on the turf was like another 5 degrees, so about 115. It was unbelievable. Just every breath you took, it was just you're breathing hot air, and you get super lightheaded. And yeah, wearing the gear is basically even if you're not going to be coming up to bat, you back in the dugout, you're taking off all your equipment and trying to air out as much as you can,
So even in the innings you knew you weren't going to be batting, you still took it off?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Chest protector, everything, shins come off. And they would have these coolers with some like ice water, and then they'd put like some ammonia concentrate in there. And you kind of breathe that in would kind of help you. It's almost like smelling salts in ice water, basically, to help try and keep you from getting lightheaded. Woo. So, it's a whole different beast.
Yeah, that just sounds gross already, just hearing it. Going to Minot, Corbett Field, what comes to mind? Memories of playing there?
I mean, when I played there, it was a natural field, and they didn't have like the addition to the dugout. I remember super small dugouts. I remember the dirt was, right in front of the dugout. So sometimes that would be, if it was a windy day, which it typically is in March and April when you're playing, the dust blowing into the dugout. But they've done a great job. The renovations to that stadium, obviously with having a Northwoods League team there. We went up and played a non-con 3 weeks ago up in Minot, played Minot High and Minot North, and that facility just keeps going on getting better and better. Our kids were all just kind of looking around like, wow, this is sweet. So I'm excited for the kids to get up there again, because they really love playing at that stadium. And they have this huge video board now in center field. So I hope that we're able to use that during the tournament. But yeah, it's a great complex. And I can just tell that, in the work leading up to the tournament, the info they're asking from us coaches, like they're going to have a lot of things well ran at the tournament. So
you mentioned you played Minot North just 3 weeks ago. That's who you play tomorrow. How much is that? Do you use that or as a launching off point, or it's baseball? We can't even use that, even if it was 3 weeks ago.
You can look at it a couple of different ways. We keep spray charts so you can kind of see where a guy generally kind of sprays the ball around the field, but at the same time, when some of their guys only had 2 at-bats against us, it's hard to get a good read on that. And part of it too is like they didn't see some of our top arms and we didn't see some of their top arms. So I think it's going to come down to offensive production, who can produce at the plate, who can generate more runs. So I'm not so much worried about, who we're going to run out there on the mound and who we're going to have go throw. I'm more so, want to be our point of emphasis that we need to go score runs every inning. That's a goal of our team, is we want to score every inning, put pressure on the defense. And the guys have kind of answered that challenge this year.
I got last thing for you. I'm going to put you in a tough spot here. You grew up in the WDA. You played in the WDA. You now coach in the EDC. When you played, the WDA was loaded, man. It seemed like every year one of your teams was going to win it. Has it flipped now that the EDC seems like it's got the upper hand in baseball?
I think if you were to look at certain elements of the game, you may see some disparities between the East and West. Just talking to coaches around the state, still have quite a few connections around the Bismarck-Mandan area with some of the coaches. I think that we have some stronger pitching out in the East for sure. Yeah. Just some guys that maybe have a little bit more velo. But I would say that, overall the level of baseball is still very competitive across the state. You're still going to have guys that they can put a ball deep in the gap, put a ball over the fence from each side of the state. So no, I wouldn't say that there's necessarily a clear disparity between the East and the West, but I'd say on the pitching side of things, maybe with some of the indoor training advancements that we have out here in the East between, our kids using the Shields Performance Center or Fargo kids using the attic, there's a little bit more emphasis on some throwing programs in the winter. And I don't know if the West region is quite there with some of that. I'd say that might be a little bit of a difference that I'm seeing right now. But every team you look at, there's going to be a guy. So, I mean, get to the state tournament, it's, top 8 teams that in the state. So got to be there ready to play.
Last thing, what's on the bus today? Do you have the headphones on? Are you reading a book? Like, what's up for the head coach? What do you have planned on the trip out?
Honestly, me and my assistant coaches, we just talk baseball. Yeah. We just talk about, different scenarios for the tournament coming up. We talk about just random things with our team. And sometimes I'll call the kids up, and it's a great time I feel to have some like meetings with kids too. Okay. And just kind of check in with them and see like, how are things going? Yeah. Like maybe if a kid's struggling, if a kid's doing really well, like, let's talk through that a little bit. And on a bus for 5 hours, like might as well use some of that time to your advantage. So that not really much of can't sleep on a bus, which I should be used to playing. I mean, all the traveling I did in college and pro ball, I should be able to sleep on a bus, but I unfortunately can't. So yeah, just a lot of talking, conversing, and maybe I'll open my book. But
if you have time, if you could try and fix how bad the Mets are for me, that'd be fantastic, because they have a $330 million payroll and they're 11 games under 500 and can't score any runs. So if you have some time on the trip out, feel free to send me a message on that.
Yeah, I can definitely send you a message that you could forward that on to their front office staff. Maybe a few things that we use at Old Horace High School that can apply to the Mets. But
hey, you play pro ball.
This is a little bit different level of pitching than we do. So yeah.
Hey, offensively, I know you guys could score more than they can right now. I know that darn sure. Thanks so much for doing this, bud. Safe travels and good luck starting tomorrow, okay?
All right, appreciate it, Dom.
Great to see you, bud. There he goes, Quinn Irey joining us. West Fargo Horace head baseball coach. The Hawks open tomorrow against Minot North. That's game 3 of 4. You'll see them all live on WDAY2 starting tomorrow. If you don't get WDAY2, you can stream everything on WDAY Plus and on Inforum.com. We'll have everything tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a busy day with the amount of tournaments we got going. There are 5 of them. And if you want to count tennis, we got 6 because the doubles portion of tennis goes tomorrow. So a lot happening. Looking forward to heading out to Jamestown tomorrow morning, and we'll be live with Hot Mike tomorrow at Venerable Jack Brown Stadium. Looking forward to doing the show out there tomorrow, leading into a busy day on the Diamond. We'll break. We'll wrap up our first hour. Trey Husar coming up in just a little bit as well. Hot Mike rolls on a Wednesday. We're back right after this.
This is Hot Mike with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
Welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up our first hour. Our thanks to Quinn Irey for giving us a few minutes there. Mentioned tomorrow, just looking at the old Storm Tracker app here, because it was supposed to be warm today and then was going to chill out for the rest of the week. That is drastically changed now. Just looking tomorrow, sunny, hot, breezy, 90. Friday, mostly sunny, 88. Saturday, partly cloudy, stray thunder shower, about 85. Now, Quinn's exactly right. He brings up the time. It was 5 years ago. I talked about it yesterday on the show where we had 100 degrees for 3 straight days during this tournament. Minot, for those heading out there or those watching, appreciate you guys watching out west, 92 tomorrow, 87 Friday, and then chance of thunder showers on Saturday. The championship for Class A baseball is at 2. Class A softball will start things at noon on Saturday. So hopefully we can avoid anything Mother Nature wants to throw at us. But that is it. We had mandatory water breaks, if I remember right, that 1 year. I don't know if we'll have that this time around, but it will certainly for the soccer players going out there in Mandan, on the turf out there, that is going to be a battle of wills out there just to make sure everyone stays upright and stays healthy. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and everybody be smart. And as Quinn said, hydrate. That's the best thing over the next few days. We'll be living that as well in the broadcast booth. We'll break. We'll come back. We'll start our second hour. Northern Castle, South Dakota State freshman pitcher Trey Husar will join us on the Jacks heading to the NCAA tournament and him getting another shot at Nebraska. That's coming up when Hot Mike returns after this.
This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, ready to rock and roll here on a Wednesday morning. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, we're live in Jamestown. We'll back in studio on Friday to wrap up the week and the month of May on Friday's show. Looking forward to that. Yesterday, we made sure we honored the South Dakota State baseball team. The Jackrabbits knocked off Oral Roberts this past weekend in Minneapolis to win the Summit League Championship. First time that SDSU is going to the NCAA tournament since 2013. Knocking off the Golden Eagles, who for the second year in a row are denied a chance to go to the NCAAs. South Dakota State actually has a couple of local players in our own backyard. Caleb Deere from West Fargo Cheyenne and one Trey Husar from Northern Cass, both who played for West Fargo's Patriots, the Legion team, over the last few years, now playing for the Jackrabbits. Deere is out with an arm injury, has not pitched this whole season, looking to be back in 2027. But Husar has pitched In fact, he pitched for South Dakota State when they played Nebraska back in March. Why is that relevant? Well, when the selection show came out Monday morning, South Dakota State was put into Nebraska's regional, and they'll be heading to Lincoln, I believe, later today, he told me, for the matchup with the Huskers coming up at 3 o'clock on Friday, part of the opening day of the college baseball tournament, which we'll talk about after our interview here with Trey on how big this has gotten over the last handful of years. But this time last year, Husar was helping Northern Cass to the state baseball tournament where he was electric in the game he pitched for Northern Cass at Newman Outdoor Field. On top of the fact he was part of Northern Cass's relay team that ended up winning out in Bismarck at the state track meet a year ago. So fast forward 365 days later, he's got another huge opportunity now going to the NCAA baseball tournament. I visited with Trey yesterday afternoon to ask him about the Jackrabbits winning the Summit League and what this weekend was like.
A lot of excitement for sure. I mean, we went into the Summit League tournament. Nobody really expected us to kind of do what we did, and we pulled it off. And it's kind of the same scenario. No one's really expecting us to go to this regional and do anything special, but I think some people will be shocked to see the Jacks in Lincoln.
Tell you back to the first game of the tournament against Oral Roberts. I didn't know this. They had never lost an opening round game. What was do you guys go in with no nothing to lose because everyone's expecting them to win, right?
Yeah, I mean, played like we had nothing to lose and select delts, and I mean, that's pretty much all she wrote.
What was the confidence like after that, just with the guys after that game going forward?
I think at that point it was kind of the turning point where we realized we're like, yeah, we can really win this thing. If we win tomorrow, we're in a great spot. And I mean, pulled it off. Rylance came back, followed it up, and had a great outing. And Ty closed it out. And we're going into Saturday 2-0.
Why is it clicked, Trey? You're a pitcher. Why is this all clicked for your staff where maybe it hadn't all year, but this past week it did?
Honestly, I think it's really the you got nothing to lose aspect of it. Being a pitcher, it's such a mental game more than anything. And the ability to just play free and be yourself, it's been really good for our pitching staff.
Describe your emotion, the last out. Where were you, and what was the dog pile like afterwards?
I mean, I was in the dugout. Ball went out to Nate and saw him lay out for it, and there was just a split second where we all kind of looked at each other. It was like, was it for sure a catch? And once it was confirmed, everything just kind of happened. We all rushed the mound, and big doggy pile. There was a lot of big guys on one mound, but it was a lot of fun.
How much family did you have in Minneapolis this past weekend?
Honestly, it was just my girlfriend there. My parents were at state track watching my sister compete. So they had come for the Wednesday game, and then immediately had to ship it out to Bismarck to watch Cadence compete. But
well, now they got another road trip planned then, right? This coming weekend, huh?
Yeah, keeping them busy, that's for sure.
How often have they been come down to Brookings or to watch you play this year?
I mean, quite a bit, which I'm fortunate enough, and the team's fortunate enough that we travel well. Everyone's kind of known that wherever we go, people say the Jacks always travel well, and I don't think it's me any different here this next weekend, especially with Lincoln only being 3 hours away.
I have to ask, what was your reaction? You're watching the selection show yesterday, and you see Nebraska up, and then you guys. What was that moment like?
I mean, going into it, we all kind of were thinking that we were going to go to either Nebraska or Kansas. So it was just a matter of which one, with the NCAA trying to keep it as regional as possible. I mean, we knew there was an outside chance we went to like UCLA or Georgia, but we were all kind of thinking like our money was on we were going to go to Nebraska.
You pitched in that game, correct?
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience, and now you get to live it all over again.
I mean, it was a big stage then, especially as a freshman, but I mean, there's going to be probably 10,000 people in that stadium, the way that they've been talking it up. So whoever goes out there and whoever plays, they'll have to be ready for the moment. And I think whoever it is, they'll be ready.
Can you describe what this year was like? What did Coach Bishop tell you about your role, and has it been what he thought? Has it been more? Can you go into that a little bit for this year for you?
I mean, I'd kind of come into this year knowing I'd come out of the bullpen. Honestly, I rode the roller coaster as a freshman, felt all the emotions, felt all the struggles, and I mean, I've played or pitched some of my best ball in the past couple of weeks, which is the right time. So I'll stay ready for sure for this weekend, and we'll see how the Cards play.
How difficult is that for you? You're used to playing all the time to now I may not. Just how mentally challenging has that been?
Yeah, it's definitely different mentally. I'm lucky enough to have really good leadership on the pitching staff to kind of keep or continue to be ready and stuff like that. Because some of the older guys, they've been in the same boat and they've been really good leaders in that aspect.
Have you thought about how whirlwind this year has been? As a freshman, you're now going to the NCAA tournament?
I mean, I took some time yesterday to reflect a little bit of just, I remember the first game against UTSA and how much heckling we received there and how much of a different atmosphere it was then. So, I mean, with all the struggle we've had, with all the success we've had, it's just been really cool to kind of look back on for sure.
You and Caleb, I know, known each other for a long time. Tell me about that relationship and a couple of guys that played up here now still playing together at SDSU.
Yeah, I mean, he's for sure been kind of a big brother role to me. Unfortunately for him, he tore his UCL before the season started. But his recovery is going well, and he's been with the team here, all year long, kind of shedding some light on the pitching staff. So we're excited to get him back next year for sure. But in the meantime, he's been a great teammate for sure.
I have to ask, the series at Newman, what was that like for you personally being back up here and you guys take 2 or 3?
I mean, the baseball aspect, it's always good to beat the Bison in Fargo, but I was really lucky to have the amount of support I did there. Got to see a lot of people I hadn't seen since high school, so it was really cool.
Were you nervous for that, or was it just, hey, it's the next weekend, it's the next series up?
I mean, I was a little bit nervous, but honestly, I was just excited to see everybody again.
The whole experience, this whole freshman season, I have to imagine this has been even more than you bargained for this first year.
I mean, I think everyone kind of thought next year would be the year that the Jacks went and competed for the Summit. But honestly, it was our goal going into the year to win it, and we did. And I mean, very grateful for where we are right now.
The level of baseball, I think we talked about this, if you're getting into it this time last year, is it what you thought? Is it better? Tell me about Summit League baseball now that you've been in it a year.
I mean, it's kind of what I thought. I would say it's a little more mentally demanding than I kind of had thought. Season's a little longer, especially when we had school and all the travel and stuff. But I mean, I had a pretty good first year, and I'm excited to get into it next year for sure too.
I think, Trey, people say, well, the Jacks, they know football, basketball, baseball. What has this been like the last few days to soak this in from maybe the other athletes that you guys are doing this?
I mean, some people in Brookings probably just found out we had a baseball team this week, but I don't know, all the attention that we've gotten and stuff, it's been good for sure to just kind of open people's eyes to the program and kind of what we're about. But I mean, the core group of guys has been the same. So we're not taking it not making too big of a deal about it.
Did you have a sense you guys your best ball was coming when you went to Minneapolis? Had you been, you think, trending in that direction?
Yeah. I mean, the tail of the season was there'd be a game where our hitting would come together and our pitching wouldn't be there, or there would be a game where our pitching was there and our hitting wouldn't be there. So we knew it had to click eventually, and we were lucky it did at the right time.
I know you mentioned it earlier of how close it is. What do you think you guys will have for fan support on Friday afternoon?
I mean, we've seen ticket prices already, and they're not cheap. But I think as many Jackrabbit fans as can get out there I think will be pretty well supported. There's gonna be a lot of red in the the stadium for sure, but I think there'll be a good amount of blue too.
I'm interested, like the off season for a college baseball player. I know what it has been. It's been Legion Ball. Whenever this is done, what's on the schedule for you after this?
I mean, a lot of guys go play somewhere in the summer. Me personally, I thought it would be better just to stay at home, train, get stronger, learn to throw harder, throw more strikes, be more consistent, that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited for that.
What are you tapping out at right now? Do you know?
Honestly, I don't. I haven't had a gun on me in a couple weeks, but
is that good? Or you rather not? Like, hey, I want to see where I can get to by the time next season rolls around.
Yeah, I mean, for me, throwing strikes and just having more than a fastball in the zone is kind of my bread and butter. So it matters a little bit how hard I throw, but not as much as some people would think.
Last thing, and I appreciate this, if you get the call one time this weekend, what do you think is going to go through your mind being on the mound in an NCAA tournament game?
I mean, it would be a pretty cool moment for sure. Honestly, it'll be just me telling myself to slow down, like you belong here kind of thing, and just have confidence in myself to compete.
There's our conversation we had with Trey Husar yesterday, Northern Cass alum and now South Dakota State freshman left-hander. Jackrabbits will face Nebraska coming up on Friday at 3 o'clock. Just a quick word on the college baseball tournament, which I would say not even a decade ago, the first weekend of games would be impossible to find. There'd be a handful that would be on the old ESPN3, but nothing would be on network television, let alone the entire first round. But I'm just scrolling here, looking at all the games, and obviously the advert of the SEC network is there. You've got ESPN Plus certainly is expanded. ESPNU is going to have games. But every game, if you want to watch this weekend, you're going to be able to do that. And that's sensational in its own right. For our purposes here, for the Lincoln Regional, the Jacks game with Nebraska will be at 3 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Then Arizona State Ole Miss will be on ESPN2 at 8 o'clock on Friday. And again, they've got to accommodate a million things as ESPN. Now, they don't have to accommodate the Western Conference Finals in hockey or the Eastern Conference Finals in basketball, so that'll open up things like for the Women's College World Series because that begins tomorrow in Oklahoma City. But the rapid growth of that event cannot be ignored. Now on Husar, real quick, just to give his stats for the season. And he's probably, I think in his own mind, he's probably even pitched more than he's thought this season. He's worked 14 2/3 innings, allowed 29 hits. He's allowed 20 runs so far. At a tough time, he pitched against Oral Roberts, gave up 6 runs in mid-April there. He last worked on May 16th. He worked 2/3 of an inning and didn't allow any runs against Omaha in his last time out. Again, being thrown into it right from high school ball to college, that's not necessarily how many do it. Speaks a lot about what they think his talent is at that level and potentially going forward as well. And he said it in the interview with me there at the end, that thinking that, hey, next year might be the year, as in 2027 will be the year that South Dakota State would break through. But you know what? You take advantage of the opportunity when you've got it. So often we've talked about, well, this may not be the year, and then something happens and clicks. That's where it's at with SDSU. They're 6 or 7 games under 500, and they're going to the NCAA baseball tournament. And we'll see what happens coming up on Friday for their opening round game against Nebraska in Lincoln. Again, a repeat trip. They were down there, lost 5-4 to the Huskers in a midweek game that was played early on in the season, and now a chance to get down there. All we've heard between Nebraska's softball team making it to Oklahoma City and the Husker baseball team having a run in the Big Ten tournament, and you heard Trey mention it, the amount of tickets and what they're going for is just crazy right now. That attention level is just off the charts with them. So we'll see as that gets going on Friday. We'll take a break, get caught up, get a few emails to get to, and ESPN actually literally just got, I'm not humble bragging, they just got back to me with a little bit of info on what's going to happen later today with the schedule release. We'll tell you about that as Hot Mic rolls on. Final 40 minutes of the show. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody. We are guest-free the rest of the way. Our thanks to Trey Husar for giving us a few minutes there. and appreciate SDSU with their help with that. We'll keep an eye on what's going on. Vikes are back at work. They had OTAs yesterday. No media access. I think today is when they'll get our first glimpse of Kyler Murray, J.J. McCarthy, Carson Wentz all throwing with the Vikings. We've reached that time on the sports calendar where OTAs suddenly become the biggest thing ever. Vikes will have their mandatory minicamp coming up in a few weeks. Then it is the 6-week break, and then training camps start. I can't believe I'm saying this. Basically 2 months from today is we're going to be going, which is just kind of scary because it just seems like we're getting going, and before we know it, football is here. But that's where we're at there. So Vikes are getting going awfully soon there. Dom, did you see what happened with the Redhawks last night? Any thoughts so far in their season? We don't talk a ton of Redhawks here on this show. I will tell you, frankly, for me, Redhawks are pure entertainment purposes, and I know sports mostly are, but I would tell you, at least for my purposes on this show, unless it's something completely bizarre or historic or must-see video kind of thing, we typically don't. So I did not, other than the fact I know they lost by about 1 billion runs last night to Lake Country, which are the Dockhounds, if I got that right. We had this whole screw up about 3 or 4 years ago. I couldn't keep the new team straight. Either way, the Hawks, I think, are 5-6 out of the gates. Tonight's going to be a beautiful night for baseball. I'll just say that. It should be a great crowd at Newman. Schools are getting out or are already done across the area. That is a dynamite place to watch a baseball game. All I would ask is that they start thinking about, the city does, of improving Newman Outdoor Field because it's now 30 years old. It opened in 1996. Perhaps looking at the seats, perhaps looking at some other amenities there of sprucing up the place because much like the Dome, the Newman needs it too. And that is owned by the city. There's a common denominator here in this, that the city needs to wake up and start paying attention to its most valuable assets they have. Those are, you don't want what happened at the Civic to happen at those two places. You just don't. I remember vividly the last couple of years of going to the Civic when they still had region basketball over there, and just like, boy, why, what are we doing here? I get one time, I got here in 2006, and I'm pretty sure then it was in the dying days of the Civic because I can remember the warp and the floorboards over there. There were certain spots you just didn't want to dribble. That it was still a cool environment. I remember going over there like region championship night was packed if you had Oak Grove playing Central Cass. It was great, but you knew it was run out of time. You do not want that to happen, certainly at the Fargo Dome. And I think that's the hang-up without going down a too political road here, because, again, in the news is what the city commission delayed on what they're going to do with the convention center site and where to go. We talked plenty about the Dome renovation on this program. And I think going back, having our druthers again, first off, and Kolpak and I talked about it, the first vote was so ill-advised that they didn't have any polling stations on the south side of the city, which I will never understand. But the second time around, when they had it for the ballot up in November of 24, and it got even less support that time around, the campaign again was short-sighted again. Just trying to get people to understand it was not for Bison football. And I'm not sure how the message got out that or people got misconstrued that it was just a Bison football kind of thing, because it's not, even though there certainly were going to be upgrades for the inside of the Dome. It was beyond that. And if anybody goes to the Dome, any sort of concert you go to over the next couple months or next week, if you're up there for Rib Fest, whatever, there's some TLC that needs to be done at that building. And Newman is right there with it. I love going up to games. I do. We'll do it again. We go 1 or 2 a year. And sometimes I just look around like, it looks the same outside of the additive parts that they did to the right field line with that deck area down there and down the left field line with the added seating there. That's it in terms of what they've done They did a scoreboard update, I don't know, 7-8 years ago. That's if you were to like put it side by side of what the stadium looked like in 2006, like when I got here, to now 2026, there ain't much different there. That's the problem. Dome is in the same ballpark. Dome can say, okay, well, they improved the lighting, they improved a little bit of the sound system in there. There's new turf, but the lighting in the concourse, same. Bathrooms, same. Access on the concourse, same. Seats, same. What are you doing? That's, to me, is an easy way to head towards irrelevancy or head towards your building isn't going to be functional anymore. And again, people will attach it's just a sports thing. It's not. It's beyond that. You know, if you want to have major concerts come through here, I was just like when Pink came here a couple of years ago, and because I know my wife went and told me, I mean, there were people that weren't going to the bathroom for 2 hours because they knew the line was going to take an hour, and the concert alone is 3 hours long. Right? Like, what are we doing? It's just I don't understand that. So again, for those that think it's just a football deal, it's not. But now that the highest level of football is here, you may want to start thinking about that, because there's going to be fans coming not from Carbondale, Illinois, from Grand Forks, or from Brookings. Fans are going to come from Reno. Fans are going to come from Vegas. Fans are going to come from El Paso, Texas. Fans are going to come from the Air Force Academy, right? That they want to see this place. Might want to spruce it up going forward here in this next edition of football. With that said, we'll break, because on the other side, we have some new intel to share, because later today, we're going to find out, at least the first couple games, when the Bison are going to be playing and what channel. We'll tell you a little bit more info on that when Hot Mike returns on this Wednesday morning. Back after this.
This is Hot Mike with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, so a couple things here before we get to the schedule stuff. And I was trying to read up on this as much as I could, especially when it involves anything political. And two senators ever agreeing on anything from opposite sides of the aisle is probably noteworthy in itself, but especially when it has college athletics to deal with it. And it involves Ted Cruz, the Republican senator out of Texas, and Maria Cantwell, Democratic senator out of the state of Washington. They reached agreement this is from Ross Dellinger's report from Yahoo Sports, on Wednesday after more than 2 months of intense negotiations, adopting a comprehensive bill that would grant the NCAA its long-sought antitrust exemption related to athlete transfers, eligibility, and the compensation cap. The bill is named the Protect College Sports Act, which precludes the creation of a so-called Super League, creates an agent registry limiting fees to 5%, that's something Craig Bohl talked to us about back in April, permits the pooling of media rights, and bars coaches from leaving their team before the season ends. I'm not sure how they enforce that. Here's what's in the bill. And again, you can shake your head with me as we go along. It enables administrators to enforce policies related to movement by permitting only one transfer before a player must miss a season of eligibility. A second or more transfers are permitted under certain conditions, such as a head coach leaving or the elimination of an athlete's sport. Already I can sense the lawyers on this are just ready to step up to the plate, especially on that one. Establishes a 5-year eligibility length for college athletes and prohibits professional athletes, even those having competed internationally, from participating in college sports if they earn compensation in their pro careers beyond prize money. That one I'm on board with. We saw that with college basketball this year. It was a train wreck. I know Dave Richmond talked about this on our show a few months ago. That one, get out of here. Frankly, the 5-year eligibility thing is going to happen. They're going to vote on that. The NCAA is next month at the Division I cabinet, so they're ahead of the curve on that part of the bill. That's going to – it sounds like it's going to happen from everything that we have been told on it. codifies portions of the NCAA's House settlement by granting legal protection to the NCAA and College Sports Commission to enforce strict standards in prohibiting third-party NIL deals. Lastly, remains mostly neutral on athlete employment, leaving open as a possibility for athletes to eventually be deemed employees and or collectively bargain. That last one seems like we're heading. Everyone wants to deny it, that they're still student athletes, but it seems like we're heading towards a CBA and employers. That just, to me, sounds like that we're not too far away from it. So that is now a thing. Now, whether the bill gets signed into law, that's a whole other, but they have at least now come to an agreement and will introduce that. Granted, Congress can't even do the most simplest of its tasks right now. So the fact that this would ever get any traction, that's why I scoff at it. And I really scoff at the only one transfer part of it. Like, to me, I've never understood the craziness about it. If they want to move, then they can move. We're going to have players that we're going to focus on this upcoming year. They're going to be on their third school in 3 years. Dave Richmond's basketball team has 2 players for next year. They're going to be on their third school in 3 or their fourth and 4. Andrew Nagy, we had on the show last week. You met him on Friday, I think we had him on, who's transferring in. He's on his third school in 3 years. He should be allowed to do that. You know, I don't understand. A limiting player movement to me made no sense. And I don't think that has much standing in court, frankly, if it goes down that way. We'll see. But I've never understood the limiting of player access. The word limit does not seem like something that they want to go down. That's a winning strategy, at least to me. Granted, I'm no great political mind, but that would be something that I would think would be skeptical there. Okay. So that's that from Ross Dellinger. We'll update any other news on that. So today is officially the day, and there's numerous Twitter accounts that follow, or social media accounts or internet websites that follow the release of the college football television schedule for the first 3 weeks today. And some other marquee games will come out today. And I spoke about this yesterday, and I got quite a bit of feedback on it to maybe do it again and try and explain, because we got a few emails in yesterday on how this works, and specifically how it affects NDSU. Before we get to the Mountain West and how it works, for those that don't know, and I got this from ESPN because I asked them, like, can you bottle this down so I can explain it to our viewers and listeners on how and why they wait till the end of May to do it. We've known the games. Like the NFL, we know the games. They announced the whole schedule, whatever they did a few weeks ago, and then it's done. College football, in its infinite wisdom, we know the games, but we're not going to know like weeks 4 through 13 until basically 2 weeks out before those games are played. Email from ESPN. Yes, today at 2 p.m. Central Time is when we'll release that. It's a coordinated effort across all networks and media companies and requires a draft for shared conference rights. Think like the NFL draft, but for which games go to which networks, which can take some time. That was the bottled down reasoning on when it happens and why it takes so long. So if you're scoring at home, like the SEC doesn't share. SEC and ESPN, they have their rights together. But like the Big Ten is spread across 3 channels. It's spread across Fox, it's spread across CBS and NBC. So they're picking their games. ACC is spread across a couple as well. Big 12 is spread across ESPN and Fox. Now, for the Mountain West, they're now spread across 3. And here are those leagues. Mountain West has CBS, has Fox, and has the CW network. And I made this graphic yesterday to kind of explain how the picking of the games goes. And this happened earlier or late last month and earlier this month. So CBS has the first pick. So each week they'll go and they get their first pick of what they want to go. Then it goes to Fox. Then it goes to the CW because they're the new ones on the block. The games are going to be announced today for the first 3 weeks of the season. So for Bison fans at home, we're going to find out the Jacksonville State game. We're going to find out, I think, the Air Force game certainly, and probably Sacramento State. The Fordham game is game number 2. I do not believe we'll find out the network for that. I think we may find out the time, but I don't believe the network for that. I believe we have a heck of a shot of doing that. And the Mountain West may say that's going to be on the Mountain West app today with a potential for a local broadcast partner to do the game. That's what I anticipate we'll find out. Potentially, we could find out if there are games being moved to a Friday. The Mountain West in the past has put out on this particular day. I was just looking back on this yesterday. Last year, the league, when they put out their first 3 weeks, they also released their entire national television schedule. So if there were any games, the games were on Fox, FS1, FS2, and CBS Sports Network, they announced in one big pile. Now, this year, they've got the CW to account for as well. They may do that again. They may not. The league has been pretty tight-lipped on what their announcement procedure is going to be for today and how that's going to work. But at least we know for the first 3, we're going to know that. Anything beyond, we will certainly pass it along. But it's going to be at 2 o'clock today. I also had a question to ESPN on the bowl schedule because that was something we have been trying to get an answer on as well. Granted, we don't know if North Dakota State is going to be eligible to play in a bowl game. That will be determined next month in about 3 weeks' time by the Division I cabinet, the same one that's going to determine the 5-for-5 eligibility. Will also determine if North Dakota State and Sacramento State will be postseason eligible. But if they are, the bowl schedule will come out a week from today as well. So you've got today and then a week from today for when the bowl games are going to be played, which will be relevant, I think, because that's going to happen. I think it's going to get signed off by the cabinet. So then we can find out what league is tied to what bowl game and then start putting that together. So these are events that I'm sure some of you are like, Dom, I don't give 2 rips what you're talking about. Just tell me when the game is going to be and what channel it's going to be on. And that's fair. I understand that completely. For those of us that are in it, this is new territory for us. Feely and I were talking about yesterday. This is something new for us to cover, certainly new for us to talk about. I'm excited for it because this is my jam. I enjoy these kind of things. And like I mentioned in the story I wrote on Inforum for Monday, I'm not excited that we don't get to do all the games anymore. Professionally, that sucks. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. But to find out, well, that's going to be neat. They're going to move this game to here, and there might be a game to Friday. That I'm jazzed about. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And the bowl game part of it, and who's tied into what. When we had Brett McMurphy on in April, he gave us the full lowdown on, hey, it doesn't necessarily mean that this because your league is tied into here, you have to go here. So there are some destinations that who knows what could happen. All this is new territory. Like typically at this time of year, we'd be getting ready. ESPN would announce, and I'm sure they will later today, the 2 Missouri Valley games that they're going to air. It wouldn't surprise me whatsoever that if SDSU USD gets on again, I was looking at this actually earlier in the show, because now with North Dakota State out of the Missouri Valley Football Conference, what games would they target for that for this season? And I think they're not going to stray from what they know. South Dakota State, South Dakota certainly seems appealing. I thought maybe, what about the Jackrabbit game in Grand Forks? Figure UND is going to be a top 10 ranked team. SDSU figures to be pretty good. That game is October the 17th in Grand Forks. Don't get me started. The Jackrabbits are playing 3 straight years at the Alaris Center, which is, I already got emails on it. It makes no sense. I know why they did it, but it's still, figure it out. That particular day, October the 17th, I believe Florida plays Texas Alabama plays Tennessee. Maybe a hard time getting SDSU UND on the main channels, much like that Bison Jackrabbit game last year that was moved to ESPNU. We may have it again for that deal for that particular week. But I would imagine we'll find out those games today as well. And for you UND fans out there, the UND game at Nebraska, you will find out today when that's going to be. That's in week 3 of the season. I would say probably Big Ten Network if I was a betting man. UND got its game with Iowa State on FS1. We'll see. If I was a betting man, I'd say probably Big Ten Network. But we'll find out in the course of the next few hours. But that, I know, is something for some fans that are waiting on bated breath. Others are like, just tell me when the games are. And I get it. I get both sides of it. We'll try and inform as best we can. We'll have more on that on our news tonight, and certainly more on the big show tomorrow from Jamestown on the schedule release. All right, we'll take our final break. We come back. We will wrap things up, get you ready for pretty good sports Wednesday that's on tap. Hot Mic Wraps on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KMBN, and Inforum.com right after this. All right, wrapping things up here on a Wednesday. Again, tomorrow we'll be live in Jamestown. Velva baseball coach and head football coach Matt Weidler will join us. Velva, one of the top teams of the Class B baseball tournament. My broadcast partner Mike Scogan will also be there. Guests of thousands will be joining us from venerable Jack Brown Stadium tomorrow morning. So make sure you join us live for Hot Mic, live on location. Always like doing the show on the road, and we'll do that tomorrow in anticipation of 4 baseball games we got coming up for you here on Extra, starting at 11:30 tomorrow. Couple things happening today. The NCAA track regionals get going. We had Paul Olson on yesterday from Kindred. North Dakota State decathlete is heading to the national championships in a couple weeks. He's automatically qualified through. But starting today, the events get going where if you're in the top 12, you will advance on to get a chance to go to the NCAA regional or the NCAA championships in Eugene. Caden Pastian is throwing now in the hammer throw. Zach McGlynn competes later tonight in the pole vault. This is going on in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Zach Lilly in the javelin. He got in because of an injury. Ryder Bickett's there as well from Carrington, North Dakota, after a sensational freshman year competing in the jav. And Caleb Foltz running in the 800 meters as well. Ethan Moe will run in the 1500. Tomorrow, the women will get her shot. Paige Rensler will compete in the 100 and the 200. We had Paige on last week, Fargo Zone from Shanley High School. That will get going tomorrow. Bison have more than a handful of opportunities there. Also, Jaden Keeler will run tomorrow from UND, who swept all the running events at the Summit League Track Championships a couple weeks ago here. Likely is going to compete in at least, I would imagine she's going to qualify for at least a couple at the NCAA Championships out in Eugene. We're hopeful to get her on, if not this week, then maybe next, in anticipation of her going to Eugene, Oregon. She's a great guest, and we're looking forward to have a chance to visit with her sometime next week. One last email, and I appreciate this, that came in before we go. This is talking on the Dome and Newman Outdoor Field. And I'll try and read this as fast as I can. It says, Don, when you hear people say, why should the city spend tax dollars to update either of these for the benefit of NDSU, it makes me shake my head. You are right. The facilities are owned by the city with a land lease with NDSU and use lease for specific sports. So it's not their responsibility to maintain the facility. However, the city has shown they don't want to invest in upgrading either to bring both to existing building codes, and asking for tax dollars means getting 60% of voters to agree, which is hard. Based on the suggestion, the only way NDSU is going to raise funds is if they own the facility. It may be time for the city to consider options to sell the facilities to an existing or new affiliated nonprofit entity associated with NDSU, like the Ralph, which would allow NDSU to do what needs to be done. This is a big idea, but if Mike, Jeff, and you get the thoughts turning, it may help. I appreciate the last part, that I don't know if I have that kind of sway, nor Kolpak or McFeely, but at least to talk about it, because everybody uses it. And I'll go back to 2009. 2009, the Fargo Dome saved the city. The Fargo Dome was there to have all those sandbags. Without it, we're in an awful hurt in 2009. That had nothing to do with Bison football. It had nothing to do with any concert. That should be all that needs to be said. Let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. All right. What to watch brought to us by our friends at Northwestern Mutual. We got the Hurricanes and Canadiens tonight in Game 4, 7 o'clock on TNT. We'll see if that series can even up at 2 apiece. Twins and White Sox go at 6:30 on Twins TV. And the Lynx are on USA tonight as they take on Atlanta at 8 o'clock. Our thanks to Trey Husar for joining us, to Quinn Irey and Drew Trafton. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at inforum.com. You can watch a full replay on WDAY+. Stay cool out there, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow in Jamestown. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful Wednesday.